Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Gates, and I'll be spending some time with you today discussing how Walmart Canada has been using mobile movement data to better strengthen some of our decision making. Before I get started, though, let me just take a few minutes to introduce myself, my company, as well as my team. I joined Walmart Canada back in 2018 as a store layout and space manager, where I helped our format development team optimize macro space decisions in stores using a variety of financial and productivity metrics. Recently, my role has transitioned into leading the real estate strategy and insights team, where my focus has shifted to optimizing Walmart's network strategy of stores using geospatial insights, financial and productivity metrics, as well as the new mobile movements data set. Prior to joining Walmart, I spent some time working with Home Depot, where I managed both the store layout and assortment planning teams, as well as with Canadian Tire, where I progressed through a variety of analytical and project manager-based roles. My experience in a multitude of roles across several major retail organizations has definitely helped to serve me well in my career thus far. As most of you probably already know, Walmart is an American-based retail corporation that operates a chain of discount department stores and grocery stores across the world. As of this summer, there are approximately 10,500 stores operating in 24 countries under 48 different names. It's definitely a pretty big company. Here in Canada, Walmart entered the marketplace back in 1994 with the acquisition of 122 local stores. The first supercenters opened up in Canada back in 2006, and these were the very first Walmarts to offer both general merchandise and fresh food within our stores. Our 300th store opened up in Mississauga, Ontario in 2008, and that was followed by our 400th store only 8 years later. Recently, Walmart Canada celebrated its 25th anniversary within the Canadian marketplace. Walmart Canada, as you probably might or might not know, operates about 400 stores nationwide, serving 1.5 million customers each day. Walmart Canada's flagship online store, walmart.ca, is visited by more than 900,000 customers daily. With over 100,000 associates across the country, we are actually one of Canada's largest employers, and we've been ranked one of the country's top 10 most influential brands. We were recently recognized as a LinkedIn Top Company of 2021, and we were also named one of Canada's most popular brands based off of Google searches. Our extensive philanthropy program is focused on supporting Canadian families in need, and since 1994, I'm proud to say that we've raised and donated more than $500 million to Canadian charities. I myself lead a team called Real Estate Strategy and Insights within Walmart Canada. We directly support what's called the format development team, where our motto is, if it has to do with our physical stores or our distribution centers, we're likely involved. This team includes our construction, design, store layout, implementation, procurement, facilities maintenance, licensees, analytics, and programs teams. My team either directly or indirectly supports many of the teams mentioned above with market insights, geospatial analytics, reporting, and business case support. Today, I'm going to spend some time walking the group through a recent experience where my team combined mobile movement data with other data sources to provide some strong insights into how a recent store closure impacted one of our local markets. With that, let's dive into it. As I mentioned already, Walmart made the tough decision earlier this year to close one of our locations in our St. John's, Newfoundland market. This decision was not taken lightly, as we fully understand the impact that store closures can have on any community. I'm happy to say, though, that all associates at the store were offered positions at other nearby Walmart locations, which helped to minimize the impact on the community. But before I walk you through some of the analysis and insights post-closure, let me first paint a picture for you on the market landscape itself. St. John's, Newfoundland is a picturesque small city on Newfoundland Island located in the Atlantic coast. The downtown area of the city is known worldwide for its colorful row houses, and you can find many friendly faces across the city, whether you're hiking on Signal Hill or if you're getting screeched in on George Street. Population is moderate at 211,000, and it's ranked 19th overall within Canada. There is low visible minority presence in the city, along with a good mix of young singles right up to empty nesters. Diving a little bit deeper into the PRIZM segmentation of the city, the top 10 segments actually represent about 72% of the market. The makeup is mostly suburban, but there does have some rural segments within there, such as the country traditions, and some urban segments, such as just getting by. Average household income within St. John's, Newfoundland is about $113,000, but there's a mix of high income segments, such as Boomer Bliss, right down to the lowest income segment that does exist in Canada, which is just getting by. The retail landscape in St. John's, for the most part, is quite saturated for its relatively small size. Most major retailers are located in the central areas of St. John's, with about 35 grocery and mass merchants locations, 17 true discounters, and about 43 drugstores located across the market. More often than not, in situations such as these, large retailers will review the market to determine whether they themselves are oversaturated in the market as well, which is a perfect segue into our business case for today. The business question that my team was tasked with answering was, what can mobile movement data tell us about the store's closures' impact on the local market? Post-closure, there was a need and interest in understanding where customers were going so that we could quantify our previously estimated retention rates and to identify opportunities to win back lost customers into our remaining stores. We also wanted to get a really good understanding as to how this new data set could further benefit the team in other projects down the line. As such, it became a perfect opportunity for my team to dive into these questions using the new MobileScapes data set. To complete this exercise, my team reached out directly to our Environics business partners in the hopes that we could partner up on a deep dive into the changing customer movement patterns within the St. John's market, both pre and post store closure. Going into this project, my team and I had many questions on what mobile movement data could tell us, in addition to what we hoped the data would tell us once we ran it. We landed on three main objectives for this business case. Number one, we wanted to get an understanding of how the overall visit share has changed in the market since the store closed. Number two, we wanted to get an understanding of how our customers responded to the store closure. Did they transition to other nearby stores as expected, or did we actually lose some customers to the local competition? And number three, we wanted to identify some of the PRIZM segments and also look at their changing behaviors so that we can better tailor some of our strategies to maintain or retain customers going forward. Now, some of you might be asking yourself in the audience, well, why did we partner with Environics on this exercise rather than just going at it alone? For starters, the Environics team knows the Canadian marketplace and they know their PRIZM segments intimately. Furthermore, my team had recently transitioned into the MobileScapes dataset from a competing product, and it was a great opportunity for us to try to take the training wheels off of this product and really get a true sense of what this is all about. And if you're not already familiar with what the MobileScapes platform is, it's an anonymous, permission-based data set collected from location-enabled apps on mobile devices. When used appropriately, this data set can become an integral input into exercises such as understanding a store's brick and mortar trade area, getting a sense of who your exclusive customers are, with which customers also like to shop your competitors, or even in understanding things such as the breakdown of mobile visit share between retailers in a local market. And if you license the Demostats and PRIZM dataset, the Envision platform makes it very easy to attach demographics or customer segmentation profiles to the visit data as well. And if I haven't mentioned it enough already, I'll say it just one last time. This data set is 100% completely anonymous. There's absolutely no way people can be tracked on their lunches or their breaks or whatever else you're doing on the weekend. Let's get back to the St. John's business case. And I'll provide you with a general overview of how we access the Geofences and also produce this data. Accessing and generating mobile movement data in the Envision platform is surprisingly easy. To start, you'll want to load up the mobile extract app, and from here, you can either select one of the 120,000 plus geofences preloaded in Envision, or you have the option to draw your geofence or even upload your own geofences into the Envision library. Once you've selected the target locations with the app, you can set your date range, time of day, and even which days of the week that you wish to include or exclude, then you just press submit. It's that easy. The system will then generate your query and return your mobile movement extract shortly thereafter. For our St. John's exercise, we pre-selected all of our Walmart locations in the market, including the closure store, along with some key competitor locations within a set radius around the closure store itself. This data was then run for a set amount of time, both pre-closure to establish a baseline, as well as post-closure to determine the impact. So generating this data is as easy as creating or accessing your own geofences in the mobile extract tool, but what if you don't actually know what a geofence is? For those of you in the audience who don't know what geofences is, let's pause for a quick moment and I'll give you a brief high-level overview of this. A geofence is a virtual perimeter for a real-world geographic area. Mobile movement data works in conjunction with geofences by identifying consumers who either enter or exit these generated geofences based off of the pings generated by your mobile devices. These geofences can be drawn to align with store footprints, store parking lots, parks, beaches, bars, ski hills, you name it. If it's on a map, you can draw a geofence around it. And now that you have a better understanding of what geofences are, let's briefly discuss some of the reports that mobile movement data allows you to access or that you could even create on your own. Once the mobile movement data has been generated, the team was able to easily build pre-populated reports in the Envision platform. This data was then used to create visitor summaries, maps, customer segmentation profiles, and something even called a cross-shop report to better understand customer behaviors and movement patterns over time. And if you don't know what cross-shopping is, don't worry, we'll get into that in a second. Additionally, Envision allows you to access the mobile movement raw extract where you can append various geospatial details such as CMA, regions, province codes, and even PRIZM codes. And if you're like me, this is where the real fun begins, because this is where you get to manipulate to your heart's extent and learn more and more about your customers and their visit behaviors. Getting access to these extracts allows you to build custom distance decay reports, which is shown on the screen. And these are useful for determining the draw of your customer and you can even append the PRIZM data to your report, which allows you to dive into your customer profiles to better understand who your actual shoppers are. Now, before we get into some of the findings that emerge, I did mention the cross-shop concept, and I wanted to circle back there for 1 second just to really walk everybody through what the idea of cross-shopping is. To better explain this as a concept, here's a quick visual to explain how it actually helps you to identify shopper groups. On the left side of the slide are those shoppers that are exclusive to retailer A, meaning that they only shop at that particular retailer. The right side of the slide is similar, but this shows the shoppers that exclusively frequent retailer B. The cross shoppers, as you see in the middle of the slide, are those customer segments that actually frequent both retailer A and retailer B, hence the term cross shopping, because they're shopping both sets of retailers. Now that you have had a brief introduction on the St. John's market, as well as our approach to generating the data, I want to take some time to review some of the findings that have actually emerged from this exercise. But before we get into it, let's go back to some of the objectives. If you recall, the 3 main objectives that we had for this business case were, number 1, how has the overall visit share changed in the market since the store did close? Number 2, which PRIZM segments specifically shifted as a result of the change in market conditions? And number 3, how have the customers responded to the store closure? So for the first objective, how has the overall visit share changed in the market? We found that the visit share across our network of stores remaining in St. John's did shift as expected, but surprisingly, the visit share shifted more so to another Walmart store further away from the closure store in the market itself. This directly contradicts some of the sales retention patterns that we've been tracking internally, which started to beg the question on our end, what is the correlation between average basket sizes and visit share? We don't have an answer for that to share with you today, but we are definitely looking at this further by combining even more data sources in the near future. We also ran some cross-shop reports in Envision, which really helped us to solidify our retention findings. Not only did our Walmart cross-shop metrics increase in the St. John's markets versus the other Walmart stores, but so too did our exclusive customer count in the retention stores that saw its overall visit share increase plus its catchment area decrease. To figure out how our catchment areas increase or decrease, we ran a distance decay report in Envision, and this helped to further support the changing visit share patterns. Some of the stores decreased in catchment areas, as I've mentioned, to compensate for the additional customers that they captured as a result of the closure, whereas the other stores saw their catchment areas actually increase. Why was this, though? This was a question that we could definitely answer by moving on to objective number 2, which was, which customers were impacted and how were they impacted as a result of this closure? With strict Canadian privacy laws in place, we obviously were not able to identify who the individual customers are, nor could we if we wanted to because of the anonymized data set that MobileScapes provide to you. The options available to us here were to link the data to our demostats data set, which would provide us with a general overview of the demographics at play in each catchment area, or we could link the data directly to the PRIZM database itself. We decided to link this data set to the PRIZM segmentation profiles, and as such, we found that certain segments were more likely to go to one store over another. This finding directly correlated back to the increase and decreased catchment areas that we identified in objective number 1. Now, one of the strengths of the PRIZM data set is that it provides you with a great synopsis of who the customer segments are, what their attitudes are, as well as summarizing their average demographic traits. And this becomes very useful when trying to explain some findings. For example, when we discovered that a few distinct segments were responsible for the decreased catchment area along with the increase in exclusive customer count, we also discovered that this customer segment was more suburban, family-oriented, and had an average household income. These were all dominant traits of that store's original catchment area that had retained them. Furthermore, the segment that shifted to one of the other Walmart stores was identified as rural empty nesters. These rural customers, as most of us know, tend to travel a bit further than suburbanites when shopping, which helped to explain why the catchment area actually increased for the store. But what didn't make sense to us, though, was why were the rural empty nester customers showing up in a suburban neighborhood in the first place? To answer this, we built a map in the Envision software showing the locations of these customer segments color-coded to the dominant PRIZM segments. It became quickly apparent to us, at least, that our suburban family segment was located in the primary trade area of our closure store. This PRIZM segment already had high cross-visit behavior with other nearby Walmart stores, so when the store closed, they just migrated to the next closest store out of convenience. The rural empty nester customer, though, was located in what we call our secondary trade area. As such, this segment was already traveling further distances to the closure store, and when this store did close, they migrated to the next closest store for them, which actually happened to be a few kilometers away. But we didn't just learn about the customer's travel patterns, we also learned a bit more about the rural empty nester customer, which we're going to get into on the next slide. The final objective, which was, did the nearby competition play a role in changing visit patterns, was a very interesting exercise for us as we got to see firsthand how a decision to close a store in an oversaturated market impacted the visit share overall. Going into this piece, we had many questions such as, well, would the customers have actually simply shifted to competition instead of our nearby Walmart stores? Or were the customers completely loyal in this market and continue to overwhelmingly shop at our remaining stores? Or maybe it was a mix of both. Our findings here actually did surprise us a little. We had a high degree of retention in the local market with our remaining stores, and very, very few customers actually shifted away to the competition. But this isn't what surprised us, as our previous research had indicated that this would happen, hence the reason we proceeded with the closure in the first place. What surprised us, though, is where the customers actually shifted to. Not to another discounter, grocery store, or big box competitor, but rather the customers who shifted away from Walmart actually shifted to the local shopping mall. They went from one convenient one-stop shop location to another. And if you remember, I mentioned previously that we learned something else about the rural empty nester customer that we discussed in objective number 2. Well, the store that was closed was actually a discount store, which means it did not have a full fresh food offering in the first place. The customers who shopped this store would have also shopped the nearby grocery competitors, including our Walmart supercenters, for their weekly shop needs. Once the store closed, we did see the cross visits at our dominant Walmart supercenter slightly increase to a nearby grocery competitor, but at a significantly lower rate versus how much our exclusive customer count actually increased to this dominant store. Diving into the PRIZM segments responsible for this, you guessed it, it was the rural empty nester segment. Pre-closure, this segment didn't even shop our Walmart supercenters for their weekly shop needs, but post-closure, it seems as though we've gained a new segment within our stores. Overall, is pretty strong findings from start to finish. With that, let's take a moment to recap some of our key findings and summarize some of the actionable insights from the study. First of all, mobile movement data helped us to prove our theory that market activities, such as store closures, will not just change the percentage of total visits in a market, but also the size and the reach of the catchment area as well. Secondly, we learned that understanding who your customer is, whether through demographic profiles or PRIZM segmentation profiles, is absolutely invaluable in explaining and understanding why certain behaviors occurred. Lastly, using mobile movement data to study the impact of changes on our competition not only helped us to verify that we retained our customer base as expected, but it also helped us to understand where those customers that we lost actually went to. So with that, let's close today's discussion with my 3 key learnings from this analytical journey itself. Number 1, combining mobile movement data with PRIZM customer segmentation data is a match made in heaven. The insights and learnings from this combined approach leads to much stronger output and can really help you to understand your brand or your company's presence in the market much better. Not only that, but when used together, Both data sets can be an effective augmentation to your current processes and methodologies. It will never replace the sales and profit KPIs that we've all grown to love, but it can definitely be a fantastic addition to your reporting toolbox to better understand performance. Number 2, mobile movement data could be the puzzle piece that your cross-functional teams are missing. Understanding mobile movement data actually means understanding local tastes. This doesn't just benefit your immediate team that you're supporting, but also likely benefits other teams within your organization as well. Maybe this data can help to lead to better flyer execution strategies in your company, tailored marketing messages to the local population, or even localized assortment opportunities for your merchandising teams. There's a ton of opportunity with this emerging science, and it's always the small pieces that will end up making that biggest picture. Lastly, just as Walmart did with Environics for this journey, embrace those partnerships that you have at your disposal. Your bandwidth, resources might not always be available to deep dive into your hunches or other strategic exercises, but finding and strengthening your key partnerships will always allow you to do more with less. Opportunities will always increase when you help others win. So a little win for your partner is always going to be a little win for you, and vice versa. That's it. That's all I have for today. And I just wanted to say thank you for joining us in today's discussion. And I sincerely hope that you were able to gain something valuable from today's presentation. With that, we're going to open it up to the Q&A portion, and I'm more than happy to take some of your questions. Thank you.